Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today I am once again trying out a bit of Lash Gordon. I saw a list recently that had some ideas I wanted to try for myself, so here we are. If you're not familiar with the Lash Gordon deck, this is a deck that aims to win with Thassa's Oracle by having no cards left in your library, so its come into play ability wins you the game. We do this via mainly Thought Lash, which lets us exile all the cards from our library in response to the trigger and just win the game. We also have 4 Paradigm Shift, which can exile all the cards in our library and then shuffle our graveyard, and that becomes our library. So if you only have a few cards in there, then you can get the Thassa's Oracle off pretty quick. If you've got no cards, you can go for it immedially. So that's the combo. The thing I saw recently that I really was interested to try myself was a deck that was running 4 Spellseeker. So this is a 3-mana 1/1. When it comes into play, search your library for an instant or sorcery card with mana value 2 or less, put it in your hand and shuffle your library. So this can go and find Paradigm Shift. So we have these 4 step through, which can find us our Thassa's Oracle. And now we have these 4 Spellseekers, which can go and find us our Paradigm Shift. So we've actually got an awful lot of redundancy built into this. Another thing I was also interested in was the fact that this was a Preordain deck instead of a Chalice of the Void deck. So what Preordain does is Brainstorm kind of needs you to have fetch lands or search effects. Ponder is better with fetch lands. If you don't have fetch lands, it's sometimes a little bit iffy because you have 3 cards, and if you want one of them, not the other 2, you're kind of out of luck. Whereas Preordain is the best one for a deck that doesn't have fetch lands. So this is what we're running today. I was interested to see how this would play out and also not be a Chalice of the Void deck. This was a 5-0 League deck list. Now there's a few things I've changed here. So they were running 2 Vendilion Clique. I've cut that to 1 and put in the 1 Magus of the Moon because I'm a big fan of this card. I think this is really powerful. We have 4 Cavern of Souls and 4 Lotus Petal. We can go and find it with step through, and it can just win some games on its own. Yes, it's a one-of that we're hoping not to draw unless we want it, and sometimes it can come up, but hopefully not today, right? This was in the sideboard of the deck, but last time I played, I really wanted this in the main deck, so I've put it in there. We've got a few other interesting bits and pieces. We've got a couple of Minor Missteps and a couple of Flusterstorms as some early interaction we can use, or Flusterstorm is very good for protecting, and Minor Misstep's got some useful text in a world of spell pierces and things like that, or stifles, we can counter those. The deck also had 1 Chain of Vapor. I've swapped out to an Echoing Truth. If you have something that is going to stop you, I'd rather have an option to be able to get rid of all of them. So if they've got multiple Chalices on 2 or whatever, although we can beat a Chalice on 2 with the Cavern. But if they've got multiple things that are stopping us that are all the same thing, Echoing Truth can deal with that, and we can also just go and get it with a Spellseeker. So it seems fine as a singleton. Other than that, we've got the things you would expect. So we've got the 4 Force of Will, we've got the Mana Ramp from Lotus Petals, we've got a couple of Ancient Tombs to help us get to this Thought Lash, but the rest of our mana base is pretty much just blue. We have a single Otawara to bounce some stuff when the time comes. So between this and Echoing Truth, we can sometimes clear stuff off the board. And that's about it. We're trying to go relatively fast here, and we're going to use our life total as a resource to take a few hits before we combo off. Thought Lash is very good against aggro decks because this just fogs until you can combo off, so that should be pretty good too. Sideboard wise, if our opponents are trying to interact with us using counter spells, we have got these 3 defense grids. If our opponent is a deck that goes quicker than us, then we have these Force of Negations to interact with what our opponent's doing. If our opponent is a long, slow, grindy control deck, we have this Teferi that we can find with our step through. So we play this on our opponent's end step, and they can't remove this once it's in play. If you put it into play at instant speed, and we can put it in off of a Cavern. So the idea is that you put this in your opponent's end step, untap, combo off, and your opponent can't cast any spells while you're doing it, and you win the game. So that's what this is for. We have 4 Leyline of the Void for graveyard-based decks, which are also the ones that tend to go underneath us. Things like Echo Vion's decks, Reanimator, stuff like that can get in underneath us. We've got a couple of Hurkyl's Recall, which we can find with the Spellseeker to blow out 8 cast and painted decks, stuff like that. We've also got a couple of Energy Flux to double down on that sort of effect and really hurt those matchups. And we have 1 Hydroblast because we may as well have a Hydroblast for a blue deck. This is going to be useful against some of these sort of like red decks. You've been seeing a lot of red prison decks lately, and Yokel Hops has made a comeback because Phil made a video at it recently. So this is going to be useful to stop that. It's just a nice piece of interaction that we can have. We're not too bothered by things like Blood Moon. Like, we're running our own Blood Moon effect, so this isn't necessarily going to be useful for that, but we can hit the initiative creatures and Winocha and stuff like that. So there's definitely a fair chunk of targets we can do with it. We also can use this to counter a Pyroblast, which is not necessarily where we want to be, but it's a thing that we'll probably need at some stage. Alright, so that's it. That's the deck. I'm quite excited this one. I've really enjoyed playing this deck when I played it before on the channel, so I'm hoping that this latest iteration that's doing some very different things to the previous builds I've played, as well as taking on board some learning like the Magus of the Moon in the main deck, and see how it lands. Alright, before we jump into a league, if you can like, comment and subscribe. These things cost you nothing and really help me out. And if you want to help me out financially, you can contact me through the Discord for a donation deck, or you can become a member of the channel, or you can just subscribe to my Patreon. All links below, so go wild. Alright, let's play some Lash Gordon. We're on the play, which is a pretty good spot to be in. However, we don't have a second land, so this hand is a bit of a risky one. We do have the ability to go off relatively soon. All we're missing is land. We don't have a way of finding that. So we could turn 1 Paradigm Shift, turn 2 Paradigm Shift, putting this Lotus Petal in, and then draw that and Thassa's Oracle, and that can win us the game. Do we want to go for it, or do we want a little bit of protection first? I think we're keeping this one, but the question is, are we going for it or not? A turn 2 kill with no disruption. I think I'll play out this island. I'd quite like to have another mana source so I can at least hold up this Flusterstorm so things can't get out of hand. If our opponent wants to Thought Seize us, we can then Flusterstorm that. So it's not the end of the world. We'll see what our opponent's up to. A basic island. Alright. That's something we don't just want to jam into. A snow-covered island. That's a pretty good one. Right. I think we will... There's Lotus Petal. We will put this Lotus Petal into our graveyard. Let's see if we can Paradigm Shift here. Let's try and Flusterstorm that. We're also going to shuffle the Flusterstorm in here, so that when we go off, we'll have a Flusterstorm backup. Okay, so if our opponent has some interaction with our Thassa's Oracle here, we could be in trouble, like a Thought Seize. Okay, a Tundra, that's not so bad. What are we going to draw here? The Flusterstorm. I think we hold off for one more turn, so that we can Flusterstorm as a bit of a backup for what we're doing. What is this? Accumulated Knowledge. Okay, so we're sort of some kind of blue-white slow control deck. That's pretty much what I was expecting when I saw the basic island there. Okay, is a Tundra... is a Flusterstorm going to be good enough here? Let's play this one out. It's either good enough or it isn't, right? We put ourselves in this spot. Let's see if we win the game. Counter spell. Let's Flusterstorm this. Alright, we got there. So the fact that we had this piece of protection that we got to play twice was pretty nice here. Okay, sideboarding. Some kind of slow blue-white control deck. These defense grids probably going to be pretty good. This Teferi going to be good. Don't think we're going to want any of these other things. They might have red for Pyroblast out of their sideboard, so we could bring in the Hydroblast, but I don't think that's where I want to be. Then we're just looking at these 4 cards. These 4 coming in. What are we looking at getting rid of? We want to keep the Flusterstorms. The Minor Missteps might not be that good here. So I think we can trim some of these Minor Missteps perhaps. We're going to be playing a slightly slower game as well, I would imagine. I don't mind having the Force of Will. It's just a nice answer all type thing. We've got the 1 Otawara. Do we want to have the Echoing Truth there as well? If we're playing a slower game, do you want to get rid of these Lotus Petals? Maybe we'll get rid of a couple of Lotus Petals here. Let's try this. Just play a slightly slower game. Alright, so we've got one of the big payoffs for our deck here, and we've got some stuff to find out. So this is... We're going to have the time, hopefully, to do this. Our opponent hasn't showed us anything that makes me think they're going to be trying to kill us quickly. So we can Preordain, and we're just going to build up till we have our win, and we can just Teferi end of turn and get them dead. So I like this hand. We have 4 of our 5 lands as well, so we can bottom any lands, and we'll probably draw one eventually anyway. Alright. That is what I would describe as being sewn up. We're just looking for protection here. Do I want this Thought Lash? We'll put this on the bottom of our library, and then we'll put this on top. So we're going to use this Thought Lash as a way of drawing out a counterspell. So on 4, we'll drop this out, and then the turn after we can drop the Teferi out. A Cavern of Souls would be great. Right, that's not a Cavern of Souls. But this is something that we can play if we want to. And our opponent is unlikely to remove it with anything other than a Swords to Plowshare. So we're not going to have more cards in our graveyard if that happens. Our opponent's doing a Brainstorm with a fetch land at our end of turn. So they're going to be able to get the cards they want and bin off the ones they don't. Over to them. Alright. No play. If they counterspell this, it will not... Oh, that's a good draw. Do I think our opponent's going to... I think we'll get ourselves a Cavern for Wizard. And we'll cast this. Get ourselves a nice free spell. So I think we're probably going to want to get ourselves a Flusterstorm here. We could have got an Echoing Truth just in case something comes up and bites us. But I think this is an okay spot. So next time we'll try the Thought Lash and see how that pans out. Vendilion Clique. That's a really good card for our opponent to have here. We're probably losing the Thassa's Oracle here, I would imagine. Not expecting to see hand disruption from the blue-white deck, so they're going to get us pretty good here. Yep, it took that, and we drew another Paradigm Shift. Sure. They know we've got this Teferi coming in. Okay, so they have a Caracas. Pretty good against the old Teferi, sadly. Alright, we have an option for a defense grid here. I think we will take the defense grid and see what we can get out of it. It's going to be a regular counterspell. This is one spell, this is two spells, so this will be 3 copies in total. Alright, so we're going to be in with the defense grid here. Now, they could have prismatic endings. I don't think they should still be in their deck, though. But they could do. They could have a Force of Will here on top. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting all the permission out of our opponent's hand. So we can just start jamming the bits we want. We do need to find a Thassa's Oracle. But we've got 3 Thassa's Oracle and 4 Step Through. We should have attacked last turn with the Spellseeker. Although having this back on blocks, we're not going to win with damage, I don't think, here. So it's probably not the end of the world. So we'll play this island. Our opponent already knows about this one. Let's go for the Thought Lash. Holding up what looks like a Flusterstorm, so we can mess with our opponent that way. If they have a counterspell, they're going to want it here. Snapcaster Mage with the counterspell. Sure. So part of the problem we have now is the Paradigm Shift is not necessarily going to get to do the work we need it to because we've got a lot of cards in our graveyard right now. But what we do have is we can Paradigm Shift. So we can do it twice and then Thassa's Oracle with offers 6 mana. Alright, so we're getting this plowed. Our opponent is hellbent now. So if we can find the Thassa's Oracle, we should be able to win next turn with double Paradigm Shift. Now, our opponent doesn't have a 3-turn clock, which isn't nothing. A Thought Lash. Okay, this is going to help us stay alive, as long as they don't have a Force of Will in their hand right now. Let's jam out this Thought Lash. Alright. So let's keep our exiled zone revealed, because we don't want to remove all of our Thassa's Oracles, because that's bad news for us. Okay, they're bouncing their Vendilion Clique so they can mess with our hand yet again. Sure. If you want to take one of these, that suits me well, because I'd rather have another draw. I think they'll probably just leave us with these. Yeah. Our opponent knows what's up here. So this allows us to prevent some damage. Exile 1. Exile 2. Exile 3. Exile 4. Exile 5. So we're not going to take any damage this turn. This has cumulative upkeep though. So we're going to have to spend an increasing amount of our library to keep this around. Okay, no Thassa's Oracle there. Good news. Okay. So we can Thassa's Oracle here. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're 1 mana shy of getting this to pay off, but I don't think that matters here. So we're going to do an uncounterable wizard, and then with this trigger on the stack, we're going to exile our library. If their 1 card in hand deals with our Thought Lash, we just cast... oh, I guess we're in trouble if they do that, right? Because we need our Thassa's Oracle to die, and then get Paradigm Shifted back in. So we could definitely lose this one if they have a way of dealing with our Thought Lash, but I'm not sure what they would have. They could have something like... I don't think our opponent's particularly happy with our draws, but... they're in our deck to draw. Well, we had 8 draws there, right? So we're going to keep exiling cards from our library until we get down to about 4 cards. And then if they respond in any way, then we can exile some more. This way, if they do have some random way of stopping us. All right, so thrown in the towel, we got the match there. 1-0 felt pretty good. The Preordain was nice. The Spellseeker was good to go and get some protection and stuff. So not too shabby. Let's go to round 2. Alright, this is what we've been given as an opening hand. It's pretty mana heavy. I think we can do better than this. So we're going to mulligan. We have half of our combo. We also have the other half because this can go and get Spellseeker. So we'll keep this. We don't have a way of casting this, so we're going to put this one back. And yeah, this hand seems slow, but it does have a way of winning the game in it. A Ponder. That's not a Delver, so we're not under immediate pressure, which is fine. If our opponent is sort of like a slow, dirtly blue control deck, we're definitely going to have the tools to get through it eventually. Right, we've drawn something good here. We'll play out the snow-covered islands. That'll make our opponent think that we're playing some sort of Ice Fang deck rather than a combo deck. It might even be worth playing all snow-covered islands just for that impact. Do I want to stop this Ponder? I don't think so. Our opponent hasn't shown us a land yet, but I think that's because they're waiting to get maximum information before they decide what land they're playing. Because they might have a fetch land and the non-fetch lands. They might decide how many cards they want from this Ponder, which impacts when they play their fetch to shuffle them away. They did not shuffle their library. So if they only want one of those, they'll play a fetch now. Ooh, an Ancient Tomb. Alright, our opponent's doing some naughty things. That's usually what that means. Okay. We'll play out this second island. So our opponent's probably going to want some way of pushing through counter spells they expect us to have. I imagine our opponent is on some sort of show and tell deck. This one is going to get... if we brainstorm here... I think we will misstep this one. We are kind of the control now. Now that we know that they're an Ancient Tomb deck, I think that does change things in a significant fashion. Right, let's play this island out. We can pitch a step through to a Force of Will if we have to, but I'd rather not do that because I don't know what we want to fetch. Because we might do that and then immediately draw the second half of the same thing, you know what I mean? Show and tell. Let's say no to this one. Our opponent probably has a way of forcing back here. No. Okay, interesting. Let's Wizard Cycle. Our opponent might just have more of these and they're just going to keep jamming them until they win the game. We could get the Vendilion Clique here. We could also get the Magus of the Moon and play an uncounterable Magus of the Moon that shuts off our opponent's Ancient Tomb. So we need another land to cast it. Interesting. Honestly, I think we're supposed to get the Vendilion Clique here. Let's Preordain, and then we'll play the Cavern of Souls on Wizard. This can go on the bottom, this can go on the bottom. And we do another Preordain. Sure. We're not going to do that just yet. We're going to put this on Wizard. We're going to pass the turn. Our opponent's draw step. We're going to play the Vendilion Clique, just like Magic 10 years ago. So this will be uncounterable. So we will be able to put the trigger on the stack and have a look what our opponent's doing. This is probably quite a conservative way to play this game, but our opponent just jamming the show and tell there is a little bit spooky for us. We have a show and tell, Omniscience, Feather Mirror Breaker Days. Okay, goodbye show and tell. And let's see if I just drew them into another one. Or into a red source. Okay, I drew them into a red source. So this is going to be the sneak attack. But they're not going to be able to activate it this turn. So we're going to be able to bounce it with our Otawara. Which is not going to be the worst for us. We can't play this unless we want to try and hit a land. I think that's a bit risky. I think we should just bounce this straight up. So no to sneak attacks. Get some damage in. This is far more controlling than I wanted to play this game, but here we are. We know what permission we're playing around as well. Okay, so they can redeploy the sneak attack now. All right. How far off are we from being able to do our thing here? We're unfortunately not... We can Spellseeker uncounterably, but they can daze whatever we do. So I don't think that's the route to winning this game. I think we have to Preordain here. Flusterstorm, that doesn't do it. Step through, that doesn't do it. We're so close here. Okay, so put it on the bottom. Put it on the bottom. Play this one out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we are going to take lethal damage if they find a second red source, which they probably will off of the Grizzlebrand. They could brick. So 1, 2, 3. Do I want our opponent to see Spellseeker? Spellseeker won't be lethal because we're not going to get the... we're not going to have... We have too many cards in our graveyard right now. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to lose basically everything. I think if we play the Spellseeker, we don't have anything to find. They can just daze whatever we try and do. And no, I think our opponent's got us here. The only way that this goes alright for us is if they Grizzlebrand and they brick off on red sources, but that's so unlikely. I think we'll just concede the game. Let's go to the second game. Relatively close. If we had taken a more aggressive line, I think we'd probably lose that game just earlier, so I don't really mind the play we took there. A Hydroblast is good. We can't board these defense grids because our opponent is kind of the combo deck here, so we need to play the control. Teferi is interesting. I don't think I want it, but it's something I'm contemplating. It's very expensive is the issue. The Magus of the Moon isn't actually going to be that good. They are a Magus of the Moon deck themselves. So I think we can get rid of that one. So put it this side so I know what I'm cutting. The Echoing Truth makes sense to me here. Flusterstorms are good. Minor Missteps just to deal with some of their bits and pieces also seems fine. Thought Lash is probably going to be a little bit slow, but we're going to have to approach this game a little bit slow. So that's probably okay. We might be able to race them if we have a Lotus Petal start though. What do we want for these two Force of Negations? I like the Clique here. I don't really want to mess with our combo. Being able to bounce their things is not too shabby. We've also seen the Omniscience from them, which is not ideal, but it's a space we're living in. Maybe we'll get rid of the Spellseeker. It's a little bit slow, and we just want to try and control them and maybe naturally get our combo off. Play the control route here. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. The other option here is the step through. The step through is the thing that finds our Oracle though, which is the harder part to find because we've got 8 Oracles, but then we got effectively 10 copies of Paradigm Shift Thought Lash between Spellseeker. So I think we'll run it like this. Okay, we've got a little bit of counter magic. We've got some way of digging. I think this is okay. We have one half of our combo. Opponent's mulligan to 6 cards, 5 cards. They might not know what we're playing as well, which is quite interesting. Because we just showed them, we did show them a step through, so they might think we're on breakfast. So they might have been sideboarding to Leyline. So we might be able to get them that way. Let's cast a Preordain. Okay, we will put this Otawara on the bottom. And then we'll put this step through on top. And draw this. So we can step through next turn, and then we can do our jam the turn after. That will be into counters magic though. So we have to think very carefully. Is our opponent trying to assemble ways to stop us from what we're doing, or are they trying to assemble ways for them to go off? The fact that this is Force of Negation, not Force of Will, is very annoying, because it means we can't just draw another blue card and be away. But we could draw a Force of Will, and then we can pitch this to it. We did not draw a Force of Will. Okay, so we'll play this one out. And we will pass the turn, and we will do the step through at end step. What's our opponent going for here? A defense grid. This is excellent news for us. This is just great. We get to win on our next turn. Our opponent can't do anything about it. Wizard cycle this. Get Thassa's Oracle. Cast Paradigm Shift. That'll put 2 cards into our library. Our opponent can't interact with their own defense grid. We'll play this out. We'll play this out. And we get them with Thassa's Oracle. So we have 2 cards in our library. Thassa's Oracle will do a trigger for 2. And that should be the game. Alright. Game 3. So now our opponent definitely knows what we're doing. I don't think they're going to want defense grids anymore. I think this is a bit of a liability when, if they tap out for this, we can just then kill them. So they're probably going to board out their defense grids. So we don't want to board in Hurkyl's Recall or anything like that. I think we're just going to run it back like this. And see if we can get there. Now, if our opponent shows and tells like a monster in, like an Emrakul, that can also give us like a free Thought Lash that could just win us the game. So our opponent's in a bit of an interesting spot. They're better off trying to win with Sneak Attack than they are with Show and Tell, but we could still get hands where we're on Paradigm Shift, so the Thought Lash doesn't really work. But it could give us a free Spellseeker, which can obviously go and find us the Paradigm Shift. That might be enough to win. So our opponent's certainly got some options to help us out. Yeah, we have a combo here, and we got some blue cards and stuff. We're going to keep this. Right, opponent's beginning with a Volcanic Island into a Ponder. Sure. So we have a Preordain, and then we can also pitch another Preordain to the Force of Will, which is looking for more protection and mana sources. That's what our Preordain is trying to find us. A Misstep is a pretty nice one, but I think because we need to hit some more land drops, I'm going to cast this Preordain. Vendilion Clique, I like. So we'll put the island on top and then the Clique. And then we'll draw it so we can maybe have a look at our opponent's hand to make sure we can go off when the time comes. If our opponent does a Omniscience, we can put in the Vendilion Clique, put a trigger on the stack and get rid of one of their things. Like an Emrakul, for example. We do need more mana sources here. I don't think I can cast this Vendilion Clique though. Sorry, this Preordain. I think we need to hold up the Misstep here and the cycling for the step through in case we have to. So this way we can win through a Show and Tell potentially, if our opponent has one. Because we can put the Thought Lash in and then step through and step for Thassa's Oracle and win that way. Right, we will Wizard Cycle. Get ourselves the Thassa's Oracle. Now we're not just going to go off in front of what our opponent's displaying there, although we do have a lot of stuff here. Would I like to play this Vendilion Clique or would I like to Preordain? I think I'd like to Preordain here. We're looking for Cavern of Souls, stuff like that. Okay, an Echoing Truth and another Force of Will. Okay, we'll put the Echoing Truth on the bottom and put the Force of Will on top. We'll play our Otawara. And we have a lot of protection here. What's our opponent going to do? A Brainstorm. I think I will misstep this Brainstorm. So I've got 2 Force of Wills available to me. Beside you. Okay. That's not a great one for us to deal with. So we might have to do this Vendilion Clique. We don't have access to... So this can only cast instants or sorceries, right? So this can give them a free Show and Tell. So if we jam this Thought Lash in now and protect it, then I think that's okay. Because if they Show and Tell, we win the game. And we can counterspell a Sneak Attack. So I like our spot here. But our opponent's still got 5 cards in hand, so there's all sorts of things they could do here to mess with us. Force of Will, pitching Show and Tell. Okay, we will Force of Will their Force of Will, with the Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. All the Force of Wills. Alright. Give me my Thought Lash, please. Okay, so our opponent can't cast Show and Tell without losing the game now. And then we're going to hopefully draw a blue card. And then we can do some Vendilion Clique with Force of Will stuff going up. So I do not mind this spot. Now it could go wrong for us from here. Alright. We will pay for this. Just keep a note of what we're exiling. A Hydroblast. That's an interesting one. We're not just going to play this straight out here. We're going to Vendilion Clique our opponent. Probably now, I think. Let's see if we can have a peek at what our opponent's doing. What have you got over there? Show and Tell, Ponder, Sneak Attack. Interesting. I'm more worried about the Sneak Attack than anything else here. So we will... Actually, no, we've got the Hydroblast for the Sneak Attack, actually. We know our opponent can't cast it. Sure, we'll get rid of the Ponder, I think. I'd rather they had one draw than seeing a bunch of cards and then choosing a draw. Okay, so there's an island, right? No, there's a Flusterstorm, sorry. The island just got moved along. Sure. So our opponent still has a mystery card. So what they could have here is Force of Will. That would be annoying. Let's go for the Thassa's Oracle here. They've got 1 card in hand. They could hard cast the Force of Will off Beside You. Alright, so now we'll exile top card of our library. We'll rinse and repeat this until our opponent dies. Alright, we got the match. Yeah, our opponent really helped us in the second game with the defense grid, but they did mulligan quite low anyway. And in this one, we put our opponent in a position by forcing the Thought Lash through. Our opponent could never show and tell without us just being able to kill them without being counterable. So that was kind of interesting. I liked how we played around the Boseiju there. Deck's feeling smooth and deck's feeling good. Let's go to round 3. Alright, we're on the draw. We've got a couple of turns to find ourselves another blue pip to cast our Thought Lash. But yeah, this one seems like a keep to me. Our opponent's beginning the game on 6 cards. Doesn't necessarily tell us anything about their deck. It's only when they sort of go a bit lower that you get the impression they're looking for specific pieces instead of just a playable hand. Seat of the Synod. Just Bauble. Sure. Emery. Do I want this Emery to hit play? Not particularly. What would I like to bin off here? I think it's going to be the Thassa's Oracle. I think the Minor Misstep's just going to be useful along the lines. This gives us some interaction next turn as well. Our opponent's got only 3 cards left in hand. So even if they force a will, I don't mind too much. Okay. We will play a basic island and we have this Minor Misstep ready for some small spells, right? We can hit 1-drops and 0-drops. So our opponent's not going to have any 1-drops. We're going to have a lot of 0-drops that are important. Things like Mox Opal, for example, is something I'd like to hit because that's going to be a mana source. So we can just use this. Alright, this is exactly what I just said I wanted to counterspell. We don't want our opponent to get to 3 mana because that's when Sai comes down. And because they will have Metalcraft, I don't really want this to do its work. The idea is that we sort of cut our opponent's legs out from underneath him with this play. Alright, that's gone okay. We need to find a mana source. Alright, we've got a mana source. So we will do the old step through end of turn. What are we going to find with it though? I think we get the Spellseeker, because that way we can go and get another Paradigm Shift if our Thought Lash doesn't work, or we can use it to get a Flusterstorm if that's a thing that we need to have. Seems unlikely, but it's a thing that we can do. I'd rather be prepared. Okay, so doing the same play as last turn. And they're not following up anything. This could be a painted deck, and they could be holding up Metallic Rebuke. Let's Wizard Cycle for a Spellseeker. Now, we have a choice if we play the game fast or slow here. If our opponent wants to Force of Will this, I don't really mind. If they have Metallic Rebuke, that's a bit annoying, but we'll find out if they're Painter, I guess. You can 2-for-1 yourselves over our Thought Lash. Our opponent doesn't have it as a Saga in hand, otherwise we would have played it last turn as well, so that's like one of the scariest things we don't have to worry about right now. Right, they 2-for-1 themselves with Kappa Cannoneer, so that's one of their big payoffs gone, and we can Spellseeker to go and get Paradigm Shift if we need to. See what we find. Alright, let's cast this little creature. So we can put in all this interaction in our deck as well. Our opponent got another Force of Will. This can also block for a turn if our opponent does play something that we need to deal with. Right, yes, I would like to go and find a thing. Let's get this Paradigm Shift out. Let's play this and cast the Shift. Alright. Got 4 cards left in our library. We have a step through that's not going to do very much unless we need to bounce some creatures. Sai, Master Thopterist, don't care about that. We should win before this becomes a thing. We're just going to draw up some mana sources here and do some stuff. Kind of wish this was an instant because then we could bounce stuff at their end step. We'll see. So we've got Mental Misstep, Thought Lash. Sorry, not Mental Misstep. Whatever it's called. The Misstep. New one. That's Minor Misstep. Do you want to bounce a Sai? I don't think so. I think we just pass the turn, holding up Minor Misstep. Our opponent's a long way off of casting things like Thought Monitor, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, no, they can cast Thought Monitor here. They want to. They're representing hard cast Force of Will. We are doing okay here. So here's the Thought Lash. We will deploy the Thought Lash. And then hold open this Minor Misstep. Alright. Oh, this means we might not draw the Force of Will, actually. That's an error, I think. I think we have to let this die. Yeah, I shouldn't have played that out. That's a mistake. A Thought Cast. Yep. So they know we have this Minor Misstep. Are we supposed to hit this Bauble? I think we're just supposed to fire this off on any targets we are given. This is a redraw, so it could be more interaction. We don't want our opponent to have more interaction. I'm trying to remember what the last card we put into our... So we've got a Step Through and a Force of Will. We could take the 50-50, but I think we have to let this die. Because we've got another turn of this game anyway. Should be attacking with the Sai here. They did not. We're not going to exile here. I'm just going to let this die. Oh wait, this exiles all the cards from my library now, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. I was just completely misplayed by playing that card, didn't I? I should have taken the 50-50. And we'd lose the game. Oh my god. What am I doing? I just completely punted that game. That's really embarrassing. Okay. Hurkyl's Recall, Energy Flux, please. Jesus, what am I doing? I forgot about the clause that when Thought Lash leaves play, you exile your library, because it so rarely happens. Oh my god. Jeez. Well, at least that embarrassing thing is on for you to laugh at, I guess. That's something. So we want these Energy Fluxes, Hurkyl's Recalls, these make sense. I like the Magus of the Moon, it shuts off of a bunch of their things. Do want the Vendilion Clique to get through counter spells? Maybe? We definitely want the Spellseekers because they can find our Hurkyl's Recalls. Echoing Truth is just not as good as Hurkyl's Recall. We're never going to find that instead, so let's swap that out for a Hurkyl's Recall. Oh god, I'm really flustered from that. Ugh. Flusterstorm is okay, but they're going to be a Chalice deck as well, so it's going to be a little bit awkward sometimes. But I think being able to hit things like Mox Opal and things are nice. I like this for... Maybe we're trimming... We can trim one step through. Maybe this game's going to be slower, actually, so we can trim a couple of petals. Sure. Oh, God. Alright. What do we have here? We have Preordain into some other stuff. This Preordain is going to have to find us lands, but you keep an Island Ponder here, so I guess we'll keep this. We deserve to lose this round for that misplay. Yikes. Alright, time to find some lands with our Preordain. We don't really need the Paradigm Shift yet. So we'll put this on the bottom of our library and leave the island on top and draw it. Next turn we hold up the Minor Misstep, most likely. I wouldn't mind drawing another Preordain. Give us something to do with the 1 mana we're going to have floating around. Alternatively, we could draw an Ancient Tomb, and that might make me want to get a Spellseeker for Hurkyl's Recall. Ancient Tomb from our opponent. So this looks like they're going to play a Sai this turn. I think that's why you would play the Ancient Tomb out. Oh no, they're probably going to play something bigger. Interesting. Okay, just a Chalice for 1. Sure. So that shuts off our Minor Misstep, but this is a blue card to put into Force of Will, so it's not the end of the world. If our opponent's relying on this Chalice doing a lot of work, that's not too bad for us because our deck was a Chalice deck until this particular iteration. So we don't have that many things to worry about, and we've already played one of them. An Emery. Now this is a bit of a problem, and they're going to get some stuff out of it. Let's have a look. A Bauble. So they're going to have a reusable source of mana. Sorry, a source of cards and source of mana because they have the Lotus Petal and the Bauble here. So our opponent is massively ahead now. And we shouldn't have punted the first game. So we deserve to lose, and hopefully we'll concede this one soon, and our opponent gets their deserved victory. So they're going to play out the Bauble, they're going to draw an extra card. So our opponent's got Howling Mine in play. We need to find another land before we get to do anything. Now if we draw an Ancient Tomb, we can jam a Thought Lash, and they have to counter it. But then we're just going to be searching for our Thassa's Oracle. Ideally with a Cavern to make sure that we can resolve it. What do we got? A Cavern. Okay, we'll play this out on Wizard. We will jam ourselves everyone's friend, the Spellseeker. Go and get ourselves a Hurkyl's Recall. Alright. Maybe we're still in this game. Now our opponent knows we've got that, so they might be tempted to play a Chalice for 2 if they have one. And Urza's Saga. Sure. That's something that's worth doing some Hurkyl's Recall stuff with. Let them get a couple of tokens, and then we can try and bounce everything. I imagine they have some sort of counterspell in their hand at this point. We're supposed to Hurkyl's Recall on their turn because they might have Force of Negation. But when we fire this off, it's going to be an interesting one. We can do the uncounterable Vendilion Clique. And then if our opponent wants to spend mana making an Urza's Saga token, then it's going to be a bit awkward for them if we just bounce them all. And we'll be more likely to have a resolve because we're going to put our Clique in uncounterably and see what we're working against. Sure, they're getting a Lotus Petal this time. There it is. So they have Kappa Cannoneer mana if they want it. Now we can bounce a Kappa Cannoneer. So they're going to see what we're drawing here before we do. A Force of Will. Alright. Is this Spellseeker attacking? I think so. Can't make it as a Saga Construct token yet. And in our opponent's draw step, we will play this Vendilion Clique, making sure that the coast is clear for our Hurkyl's Recall to blow our opponent out a little bit. That's the plan anyway. Our second Spellseeker can go and find a Paradigm Shift. Good thing about Spellseeker as well is if it's alive when you cast your Paradigm Shift, it's a thing that finds you one of your combo pieces without adding cards to your graveyard to make your shifts worse. We do need to find the Oracle before we do anything else. Let's see what our opponent's doing. They got a lot of cards over there. Chalice of the Void, Force of Will, Psy, Master Thopterist. Do we want them to double Force of Will? Maybe we'll strip out one of these Force of Wills. Sure. Because we don't want our opponent to have access to double Force of Will, because then we won't be able to Force of Will our Hurkyl's Recall through. So now they're in a weird spot. Do they go in on the Saga or not? Now, if we bounce all of their stuff, it means they can replay it with Psy and get a bunch of Thopters. Chalice for 2. I think we have to counterspell this one. And they will... If we counterspell this, then they will pitch Force of Will Psy. And then what are they doing to win the game? Just drawing extra cards, which is fine. If we Force of Will this, it also means that our opponent gets to... Yeah, no, I think we have to let this go. So we can't Paradigm Shift anymore. But we have the Thought Lash for that anyway. But I think if we counter this, our opponent just gets to replay it every turn. They're not making anything with this, the Emery here. That'll be an interesting play. Let's just pick up a ball. There we go. They're doing it now. Sure. So we get to be down for 4. We don't get to do anything about the... Well, I guess we don't get to be down for 4, right? Because they're going to make a construct. So we need to... yeah, it's going to be tough here. We do have Otawaras in our deck as well. We're kind of on the trying to combo out plan. Paradigm Shift. That's not a very helpful one right now, is it? So we go to attacks. If our opponent doesn't have Shadow Spear, we can chump block for a little bit. They will have to crack both these petals to make a silent construct, but that's not really much of an issue for them because their construct's still going to be pretty large. We can also draw Energy Flux. Is a reasonably good card we have here. So we're going to play out this uncounterably. We're going to use this to thin our deck because we would like to draw into land and Thassa's Oracle. So let's use this ability, which is these. So Flusterstorm is something that actually does things underneath the Chalice because the copies will still be relevant. So I'm going to get the Flusterstorm. So they're going to make a token here. And we're going to see how scary the thing that comes out of the Saga is. They could get a Pithy Needle on Thought Lash. That would be pretty good. But I imagine they might just get a... What's it called? Shadow Spear and beat us down. But yeah, this game is over because we punted the first one. In 2 different ways, in fact. So that's always fun, isn't it? Okay, so they do have the Shadow Spear. Do we care about this Mox? No, they still have to tap the Ancient Tomb or get a Lotus Petal back if they want to put the... to equip it this turn. Yeah, we're going to need to find a mana source and get this Thought Lash into place soon. This can keep us alive versus the constructs for a little bit, but we will need to find our combo piece, otherwise we're just going to get buried. Okay, so there's the Bauble. Yep, a 10/10. That's a big creature. There's a Bauble coming back. And they're cracking it soon, I imagine. They're going to attack first. It really doesn't matter if we soak this damage up or not. So I guess we're just going to take 10. We don't really want these creatures in our graveyard. It's unlikely that we're going to be able to clear all this stuff, unfortunately. They're keeping an Otawara in hand as well. They're going to be drawing 2 cards. So we're going to be some amount of behind in a minute. But if we can play the Thought Lash, we can stay alive versus these for a couple of turns. A step through. So we can't stop all of this damage is the problem we have. And we can't step through anything useful here. Because if we step through, we don't have anything useful to find. Certainly not for 1 mana that does anything here. Yep, we're just dead. We punted the first game, so we deserve to lose. Alright. We are 2-1 after 3 rounds. I think on the balance of things, I would quite like to play against this matchup. I think it would be generally fine because we got some really powerful sideboard cards post-board. Our opponent had a pretty strong draw there. I think we were right to hold the Force of Will, because if we Force of Will the Chalice, then they just play it the following turn. And we kind of don't really get anywhere. Whereas, so if we force it, we're not going to be able to combo off at any point, pretty much, because we know they've got a Force in hand. And they just let this go and then bring it back the next turn. So we're not really getting there. So I think this is... I think I played this one okay. I just think the first one, we made the punt of playing the Thought Lash and then also letting our Thought Lash die instead of just taking the 50-50 that we drew the Force of Will. That was just a mistake. I just completely forgot about the exile your whole library when it leaves play clause. But there you go. I've never had one of these leave play before, is what's happened there. Alright, let's go to round 4. This is our opening hand. We have both halves of our combo. We have some protection. What more could you ask for? Let's keep... I guess a Cavern of Souls is something I could ask for, but we're on the draw as well, so hopefully we'll see what our opponent's doing and they'll give us a little bit of indication about as to how we're supposed to play this one out, whether we're supposed to wait for the Flusterstorm or not. Arrow Mater. This does not suggest to me that we're going to have to play around, although it could be fetching a Tundra or something. But normally you see these in... Oh no, Badlands. Lion's Eye Diamond. Uh-oh. What's happening here? Burning Inquiry. I see what's happening here. Goodbye, Flusterstorm. A Blazing Rootwaller. Okay. I would like to draw... Well, the problem here is that our Paradigm Shift is not going to be a kill anymore because we've got a load of cards in our graveyard. This matchup feels like it might be somewhat challenging. On the play, this would have been fine. We could have just countered the Burning Inquiry. But, yeah, is there an Anger in their graveyard as well? That would be super bad for us. I don't think there is just yet. But we're getting bashed for 4 this turn, and then a lot more the turn after. Okay. We'll play an island. So this turn we take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Possibly 10. So we have one more draw step after this, which is not going to be enough. So they all attack. Burn some stuff off. So we can cast the Paradigm Shift next turn and cast the Thassa's Oracle the turn after, but we're going to be dead. So how are we going to get out of this little spot of bother? I think we're just going to get clowned here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they have exactly lethal next turn at the moment. So if we don't put a creature in front of something, then we lose. I think we just throw this one in. Our opponent is going to turn their creatures sideways next turn. I shouldn't insult their intelligence. I could play a Thassa's Oracle, but what does that do? That buys me 1 turn where I'm in exactly the same spot, and I guess I need 4 mana to try and get to engineer a kill here. So I play this out, play the Thassa's Oracle. I get a little scry off. We block here. We take 3, 4, 5, 6. Go to 2. And then what? The next turn, we play this guy and block, and then we're dead. We don't have a way out of this. Okay, this is going to be a pretty brutal one, I think. Missteps seem good here, though. Hydroblast seems like a nice one. Leyline is only good versus Anger and the Vengevines. I don't know if that's how I want to necessarily approach this, because this is a bit of an awkward one. Magus of the Moon is not going to do anything here, so we just get this Hydroblast instead. I think maybe we need these Force of Negations. And Spellseeker is probably going to be a little bit slow here. Because this is 3 mana into 2 mana, do some stuff. Although this does curve 3 mana into... I guess we don't need the Vendilion Clique, so we can have one of these back. This curves 3 into 4. If I play both of them. This curves 2 and 3, so maybe we're better off with the Spellseeker. It can also chump block. Yep, I don't like this very much, but I think this is what we're doing. I don't want to put these Leylines in. Our opponent isn't necessarily a graveyard deck because they can win perfectly fine without the Vengevines. So what do we have here? This is a turn 2 kill, provided our opponent doesn't cast Burning Inquiry. We're keeping. Are we doing the Preordain on turn 1, or are we just going to say, we win as long as you don't have Burning Inquiry? Like, we're not going to have a lot of time in this matchup anyway. I think we're going to roll a dice here. So we'll play out this. We'll play out this. We'll crack this for blue. Cast a Paradigm Shift. Do you have a Burning Inquiry? If so, we lose the game. Wish I had a Force of Will in hand right now instead of this step through. But we'll see. Like, if we Preordain and don't find any interaction, then we just hamstrung ourselves completely there. Alright, we're going to get killed by Burning Inquiry. That was pretty funny. Bit awkward. We did say that's what we lose to, but if our opponent just has like an aggro start that kills us on turn 2, if we spend turn 1 preordaining, then I don't think that's worth doing it anyway. So I think we were right to go for that, but it was just a bit unfortunate it worked out that way. Right, this opening hand is all mana for the final round. We don't want this one. That's mulligan. Yeah, I'll keep this one. We can preordain into some interaction here. I think I'd rather keep the Vendilion Clique as a way of peeking at our opponent's stuff. But we'll see. Feel like we haven't been thought seized yet today, so a basic planes. And our opponent did reveal the Yorion, so they're probably on Death and Taxes here. We need to find a basic mana source here. This can go on the bottom, this can go on the bottom. We're looking for a basic island so we can't get wastelanded out of this game. Rishdam Port. They're going to port us off of this snow-covered island? I bet they are. Yeah. Please draw a basic island deck. There's a lot of them in there. Oh, yes, we drew one. Okay. We will cast a Preordain. Magus of the Moon is actually interesting to me, but I kind of just want to make... Do I just want to make land drops? I'd like to make land drops and draw a Force of Will. So let's put this on top of our library. And draw. Then hopefully next turn we'll draw a Force of Will. If our opponent's just doing this Rishdam Port stuff, they're not actually developing their own board, so we don't have to worry about that. We can play around a Gemstone Cavern. Interesting. We can play around Thalia quite easily here. Okay, so we're going to get Rishdam ported again. That's fine. Let's Paradigm Shift. This matchup should be pretty good for us. So if they have a second Rishdam port, we still get to win the game next turn. And they can't wasteland us off any lands. They can Swords to Plowshares our creature though. There's a second Rishdam port. So if they port us off of both of these, Solitude can beat us. Interesting. So I think because we can go next turn, I'm going to play this creature now so that we can see, and then next turn we can just play around the Solitude this way. We've got here Flicker Wisp, Recruiter of the Guard. That's probably going to be annoying somewhere along the lines, isn't it? Don't know what they can find with it. So we're going to draw a Preordain. We're not going to play out our land because our opponent's got a wasteland sat over there. So next turn, if they tap us down with both their things, we just play our Cavern of Souls, play Thassa's Oracle. We are inserted against Swords to Plowshares then, and Solitude. So I think we'll be okay. So there's a Caracas. The Recruiter of the Guard is gone as well. Mother of Runes attacking into our Vendilion Clique A. Does it matter? Probably not. Let's just take the damage. We're not winning this game any other way than casting this Thassa's Oracle. There's another Mother of Runes. Okay. Opponent has one mystery card in hand. Float blue. So our opponent thinks we don't have another land in hand. That's why they're doing this play. Float blue. I'm not going to use this mana for anything unless there's some sort of Flusterstorm we need to do right now. Play Wizard. Cast this uncounterably with no cards in our library. As soon as they remove it, we're fine. We also have the additional blue pips as well. But, alright. Got game 1 versus Death and Taxes. I don't mind Magus of the Moon here because it stops all their prison-y elements on our lands. So that's kind of nice. Teferi doesn't really interact very well with a bunch of their stuff. I don't really think we have actually any good sideboard options here. Defense Grid, we can use this to stop our opponent from being able to kill our guy when we try and combo off, but I don't think that's actually a problem. Hurkyl's really cool, can bounce a Cauldron, but they can just put it back in again. Force of Negation probably has a little bit of text. This is also a legend, so pretty bad into Caracas. Yeah, I think we are pretty much where we are. Do we want to Flusterstorm for Force of Negation? Is that going to be better for us? What are we worried about? Flusterstorm only hits Swords to Plowshares pretty much from their deck, and that's it. So I think this is probably a slight upgrade on Flusterstorm. We can't use it in our turn though, but if our opponent's probably going to be playing some sort of prison-y piece, so we can at least hit that. We might be incentivized to play it targeting an Ether Vial if that's the thing that they try and go for. We've kind of got half of what we're looking for. We have some basic lands. I think this is a keep. The Thought Lash is quite good at keeping us alive. No turn 1 play from our opponent. That's interesting. Right, a basic island. I don't hate seeing it, but we do need to find some sort of action. And a Ganjo. It's going to be a Thalia. An Ether Vial. Sure. We have an Echoing Truth if we need it. There's a snow-covered island. So, importantly, Thought Lash is when you don't pay the cumulative upkeep, you exile your whole library. So if they kill it, we won't lose our whole library. Spirit of the Labyrinth. Do we care about this? I don't think so. Paradigm Shift. We don't really want this. I'm going to try this Thought Lash out. We keep our Exile Zone popped out so we don't exile everything, but once this is in play, we don't really have a choice. We can bounce our own Thought Lash if we need to. Okay, so the Ether Vial is going up. We'll be looking to bounce that with an Echoing Truth soon. Was this going to be a Thalia? Yeah, I thought it might be. Sure, we're going to lose our Ancient Tomb. That's fine. We factor that into how this term is going to play out. A Skyclave Apparition. We'll exile the top cards of our library. We'll exile 3 so that we don't take any damage this turn. Hopefully none of them will be combo pieces. None of them were combo pieces. Good. Goodbye, Thought Lash. So we can bounce this Skyclave Apparition and give us a 4/4 on blocks next turn, and that will really annoy our opponent, hopefully. But they might have a Flicker Wisp. So we're going to have to watch for that. A Vendilion Clique. That's certainly a thing that we might be interested in doing. We could target ourselves. Although it's just a straight up Thoughtseize with their Spirit of Labyrinth in play. So wait till their draw step. It does mean they get to tick up their Ether Vial first. But if we cast this, because they're in Spirit of Labyrinth, they will... I'll get rid of a card, but they can't draw a second card because of their own Spirit of Labyrinth, so we might be able to get our opponent here. A Timeless Dragon, Plane Cycling. Okay, they really want that mana. That's fair enough. We could target ourselves if we want to, or we could just try and use this as a Thoughtseize. I think if we can use this as like a Thoughtseize and then bounce the Skyclave Apparition to block our opponent, that's going to be really effective in the near future. Sure, is this going to be a Flicker Wisp? It is a Flicker Wisp. Are they going to Flicker Wisp out our Vendilion Clique? That's not a good play, in my opinion. Because we get to just take... Okay, they don't have any cards there. That's why they don't care. Okay. They're just getting all the stuff out. I think they should have Flicker Wisped something else there. Sure, so we're going to take a bash here. There's the Caracas we know about. Obviously pretty good against our Vendilion Clique. But we can cycle away one of our cards in a second. We haven't drawn a card yet this turn. Wait, did we just immediately draw the same thing we shuffled away? Huh. Interesting. So, do I want to play this Ancient Tomb out knowing it could eat a removal spell? Or are we just going to be... I think we're just going to... Do you want to risk this Ancient Tomb now? I don't think we do. I think we're just going to do the Ancient Tomb, bouncing the Skyclave Apparition line, and messing with our opponent in combat. They are getting close to... so if they put a counter up on this... They did not put a counter up on this. Interesting. What is this? 1 single white mana. 2 white mana. Swords to Plowshares. Would I like to keep my Vendilion Clique alive or not? I think I would. So now if they attack with the Skyclave Apparition, we get a 4/4 for next turn. 3, 6, 7, 8. So we block here. It's not perfect, but okay, they're just going to Caracas it. Sure. They should have done that before damage, really. Okay. Cavern of Souls. Do we play that out, or do we play out the Ancient Tomb here? Does it matter, is the bigger question. I don't think it does. But we'll play this out on Wizard. I don't think we should have kept the thing alive, now I think about it. Let's get our Thought Lash in. Oh wait, no. This costs an extra 1 mana. Oh my god. I made a horrible misplay. Again. Yikes. So we bounce that for 3. We block there. Oh my god, we've just killed ourselves. Because I forgot about this stupid Thalia. Ugh. Yeah, we should have won that game. I just made a bit of a punt there. Oh, god. We play the Ancient Tomb out there. We play the Thought Lash. And then we're probably drawing into it relatively soon. Yeah, we had that win there. Oh my god. Yikes. Alright. Don't want Energy Flux for Ether Vials. I don't think so. I don't think that's what I want to be. Especially on the play when we have Minor Misstep. I think we're just fine to roll at this. Oh yeah, we should have had that game. Should have used the Ancient Tomb and gone to 1. Oh, sorry about that, everyone. We need a little bit more mana for our hand to come together here. We have a counter spell though, but we're very cold to their mana disruption. I think we keep. We've got a decent wad of lands in our deck, so we might have to use the Force of Will and pitching a Spellseeker here. We'll see what our opponent starts again. The Chrome Mox. Sure, so our opponent's 2 for 1 in themselves here. I don't hate that. Recruiter of the Guard. Wowzers. Spirit of the Labyrinth. This doesn't stop what we're trying to accomplish. So this is fine. Makes our Preordains worse. But I can live with that. A Spellseeker. Do we play out the Spellseeker right now? If so, what does it get us? Wizard. Play this. Let's Spellseeker. So this can get us a Paradigm Shift. You can also block the Spirit of Labyrinth because it's a 1/1, which is an annoying size for their 3/1. Alright. Yes, I'll use his ability. I think we just get the Paradigm Shift here. So we can Paradigm Shift the Lotus Petal back in. But we can be in trouble to mana disruption, as we mentioned. So you can't Paradigm Shift if they have a Wasteland here. Or even a Rishdam Port we probably have to say no to. Alright. That's not a Wasteland. There's a Thalia. Maybe we're supposed to counter the Thalia. Yeah, maybe we're supposed to counter that. What else am I holding these counter spells for is a real question. Yeah, I think I should have countered the Thalia. Alright. I think we are losing this game now. If we can just find some mana sources, would be a-okay though. We will not block here, we'll just take 2. The reason I'm reluctant to counter the Thalia is because we can just win with some more mana sources, which is our most abundant draw. I do not want this to happen. We will play 1 and we'll pitch Force of Negation here, I think. We don't want our opponent to get like a horrible lock piece that's going to ruin us. Surging Extraction on the Force of Will. Okay. They get to see our hand. They also take a card out of our graveyard for Paradigm Shift, which isn't the worst. If we can draw a basic land here, a basic island would be pretty good for us. Truth be told. Our opponent's also down to 1 card. So I don't mind that. Basic island off the top, please. Not a basic island. I don't think we want to play out the Thassa's Oracle here. It can block the Thalia, but then we have to find a whole nother combo thing. So I think we can just sit there. Our opponent's only got one card in hand. They've already blown their Recruit of the Guard, so we've got a lot of life to give. If we had countered this Thalia, maybe we'd have been alright. But I think the Recruit of the Guard probably has some scarier pieces for them. They can interact with our stuff in a worse way. Okay, Eorion, this is just going to be a creature they can beat down with. Basic land. An Ancient Tomb. Not a basic land, but does some of the things we need it to do. However, if they have mana disruption, we are in trouble. So you can play out the Spellseeker if you want to, or we can just say let's Paradigm Shift and try and kill them next turn. If they have a Wasteland on our Cavern of Souls, we still get to play the Petal underneath the Thalia and win. Sure, I think we're casting this. Is it going to come back to bite me that we punted the first game? We beat Rishadan Port here as well because of the Lotus Petal. It can't take us off of both blue sources with one land drop. They shouldn't be able to interact with our Thassa's Oracle until it's in play. So I think we're okay. But we'll see. Alright, attacking with both thingies here. I'm going to take it. I don't want them to have any sort of random thing that lets us draw another card. So I'm just going to say no. A Ganjo. The Eorion. Okay. These not being in play doesn't matter. Unless they have something they want to fire off now. A Chromox. Okay. If you imprint anything in the Thalia. Okay, they're just showing us they've got nothing. GG. Okay, so just cast this guy for blue and blue. And here we go. Alright, we won that match. We made it more difficult for ourselves. But we did win that one in the end. Unlike the round that we punted earlier by forgetting about a line of text on our Thought Lash. So if we did win that game when we made the Thought Lash mistake, now we weren't necessarily locked to win that one. Our opponent had cards in hand, so we still might have failed. But we would have had to go to a third game. So I think a more accurate representation of this league in terms of the deck would probably be like 3.5 to 4 wins. So we might have got the 4th win. We do have some very powerful sideboard cards against 8 cast, but not on the draw. We are definitely like struggling a little bit more because they can blank all of our cantrips and blank our Preordains and stuff, and our minor missteps and some of our good interaction there. So it was definitely a mistake we made though. So maybe this could have been a 4-1. Let's talk about the deck. This list felt very good to me. I think it plays slightly differently, and I definitely could have played slightly more optimally, as I did punt one of the games in one of the rounds. But having the Magus of the Moon as an option to find was fine. Like, we never actually got it, but being able to, like, main deck kill off Urza Sagas is pretty good. So if your opponent makes, like, a turn 2 Urza Saga, you then cycle your step through, untap, play an uncounterable Magus of the Moon, and then all of a sudden your opponent doesn't get to do the best thing that their deck can do, more or less. So I do like the Magus of the Moon here. Vendilion Clique was very good. I was impressed with that. I like having the Echoing Truth as a thing to find with the Spellseeker. Should that be a 1 mana bounce spell? I don't know. There's definitely an argument for making it a 1 mana bounce spell, like the Chain of Vapor that was in the original list, but that's something that your opponent can then bounce back. And if they bounce back Thought Lash, that's really annoying because that's a lot of mana investment. So it's probably worth your opponent spending a land for Chain of Vapor to bounce back a 4 mana play if you've got it. Whereas all the other things we have, if they bounce that, that's more or less fine. But if we need to, if we're playing like a Magus of the Moon game and we need to bounce one of their problem permanents so they can't replay it, if they have a Chain of Vapor, and if they get to copy the Chain of Vapor, they can bounce our Magus of the Moon, and then that might give them an opening, perhaps. So I don't think I would want the Chain of Vapor. I think the Echoing Truth is probably the right one there. could play the Snapback, I think, which is the instant speed one, but I think that only hits creatures. So I think Echoing Truth is definitely where I would look to go with that one. Echoing Truth being able to bounce your own things, like Spellseeker, is kind of interesting as well. The Vendilion Clique being legendary definitely came up as a problem sometimes against the Caracas, but overall, the ability to keep looking at your opponent's hand and messing with it felt like a tool I definitely wanted. I don't know if I needed two. I think having it as an option to go and find was good. I really like the way we navigated the Sneak and Show matchup. I thought that was a really good match, that one. However, I then immediately decided to throw a game away against 8 casts in the following round. So, swings and roundabouts a bit, but this list is definitely feeling more like where I'd want to be. I'd be curious about trying these sorts of slots and how you would want to manipulate these slots differently. Because obviously, we don't want to play too many things before we paradigm shift. But we do need to be able to mess with what our opponent's doing. So, there's a bunch of options we have, I guess. You could even run things like Subtlety if you really wanted to. Because we don't interact with creatures that much, and maybe you can get punished. Now, the Madness matchup was going to be brutal, right? Because they're an aggro deck that can clock us quicker than we can clock them sometimes. And they have ways of messing with our hand. It's kind of annoying. We did take a risky line, but it was a calculated risk, right? They only have 4 Burning Inquiry in their deck, and it's not necessarily the card they want most anyway. They'd much rather just have a Lion's Eye Diamond on turn 1 than a Burning Inquiry. However, you know, we got blown out by it. But if we'd have tried to slow that game down with things like Preordain, we might have lost our combo pieces and just been dead anyway if they had the Burning Inquiry. So I don't think it was right to not go for it there. I'd be interested to try and mess with the package that we have here a little bit in terms of wizards, and if there's any others we can try and play. The Teferi felt like a useful tool to have in a particular matchup, but definitely felt more like a sideboard card because 5 mana is a lot of mana, whereas Magus of the Moon being 3 mana means, you know, sometimes it can just be a 3 mana 2/2, and I think it has more impact in more matchups, right? A lot of the matchups we're not going to get to play Teferi style matchups, are we? I think that's a bit of a pipe dream in most matchups, whereas Magus of the Moon is going to be alright. Now, obviously, Teferi pitches to Force of Will, but being able to steal a game with Magus of the Moon is much better than maybe being able to steal a game versus a slow, grindy control deck in game 1. So I think Magus of the Moon is the higher impact card in the main deck. I'm a big fan of it. The big thing we learned today is the line of text on this: when a player doesn't pay Thought Lash's upkeep, exile all cards from their library. And that's a really important line of text. We learned that today. I think that's about it for today. I really enjoyed this deck. I think it's a good deck, and it's not quite optimal, and I think there are definitely other avenues we could take it, but it feels like we're honing into a perfected list a bit. The slots I want to play with next are these 4, so I hope you enjoyed this one. If you're still here, like, comment, subscribe. These things cost you nothing, help me out. Why not get in touch with me via Discord for a donation deck if you want to see a specific 75 cards slung through my hands on this channel. Why not give it a go? Alright, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.